Okay, good evening all. Welcome to the Williston Development Review Board. Tonight's August 13th, 2024. My name is Pete Kelly. I'm the chair of the DRB. Please silence your phones and devices. Zoom attendees, please stay muted unless it's your turn to speak. For Zoom technical questions, contact planning staff through Zoom chat. I'll begin by taking a roll call of DRB members in attendance. Nate is out. Paul?
Present.
Lisa?
Present.
Scott?
Here.
Dave Turner?
Here.
And the chair is present. We do have a quorum. The following items are on tonight's agenda. First, we've got HP 24-05, Bob Gaffney, a certificate of appropriateness for an ADA ramp at 7950 Williston Road. Then we've got DP 21-19 or .19.2, which is Sophie Ireland requesting an amendment to a master sign plan at 4840 Williston Road. And then we've got DP 24-02, which is a proposed 3-lot subdivision at 699 Nob Hill Rd. Okay, the Development Review Board follows rules of procedure and conducts quasi-judicial proceedings, aka public hearings like court, pursuant to Williston Unified Development Bylaw, WDB, Chapter 6, Appendix A. The powers of the DRB are established in and limited by this bylaw, as well as state statute, and expounded upon in the staff reports for each public hearing application. As volunteer public officials, we are held to the standards of the Williston Volunteer Policy and the Williston Conflict of Interest Ordinance. For any public hearing tonight, this is a question, does any member wish to be excused on account of a conflict of interest? Hearing none. Next question. Does any member wish to report an ex parte contact?
Nope.
That's negative on both questions. Okay, so first up is, are we going to do Zoom instructions or are we bypassing that now?
We are no longer doing Zoom instructions.
Okay, great. So first up on the agenda is public forum. This is an opportunity for people to address the board on issues not on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone present here in the meeting room that would like to address the board? And if you're participating by Zoom, raise your virtual hand if you would like to address the board.
We have no raised hands.
Okay, great. We will now segue into the public hearing. First up is HP 24-05, Robert Gaffney. Bob, are you here by Zoom?
I believe he is.
I'm here. I'm present.
Thanks, Bob. Would you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Robert Gaffney, 7950 Williston Road, Williston, Vermont, 05495.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, white noise.
Okay. Okay, staff goes next.
Hey, Pete, I'm here also zooming in. So this is a request for a certificate of appropriateness to install an ADA ramp at 7950 Williston Road. This property is in the National Register Historic District of the Village Zoning District. This home is listed in the National Register District. However, it was constructed in 1961, 1.5-story cape. The applicant proposes to either do a ramp on the front of the house or the side of the house, and either a wooden ramp similar to a neighboring property, or one of those prefabricated metal ramp kits. The applicant received comment from the Vermont Historic Preservation Office. They're fine with an ADA ramp that is made of metal. because it's minimally attached to the structure, so it won't damage any historic character. The hack recommended either option. It sounds like the applicant is probably leaning towards the metal ramp on the side entrance. However, they wanted to give them the flexibility of both options depending on what they choose. And the hack did not have any special recommendations for your consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Bob, do you have anything to add to Emily's staff report?
No, nothing. I'm going to lean on the AM ramp company that installs these ramps for a recommendation. Last I spoke with the fellow who came to give me a cost estimate. He was suggesting the side entrance, which is the driveway side of the house. So I'll lean probably towards his suggestion, if nothing else.
Okay, thank you. DRB members, any questions?
There is no sidewalk in the front of the house, correct? To get to the,
There is a sidewalk in front of the house.
there is? Get to the stairs? Okay.
So that question could be interpreted different ways.
Right.
So could you're talking about a on-property
Yeah.
sidewalk that goes to the front
Right
steps?
to the front steps.
Okay, Bob, could you please address that, please?
There is no sidewalk that leads to the front steps on the property.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's a side, ADA and the side entrance would be easier because put it in the front, you'd have to basically put in a physical sidewalk to get to the ADA ramp.
I think that's the applicant's prerogative.
Okay. Just making sure that's all.
Any other comments by DRB? Scott? Okay. Members of the audience, any questions? Comments? Any raised hands? Hannah? Okay, Bob, any final words?
Nope.
Okay. We are going to close HP 24-05 at 7:08. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is DP 21-19.2. This is GPA LLC, care of Sophie Ireland, for a master sign plan amendment. Who is representing the applicant?
This is Nicholas Smith from SD Ireland Company.
Your address, please.
193 Industrial Avenue, Williston, Vermont.
Great, thank you, Nick, and welcome. Staff goes next.
Thank you, Pete. Yes, this is a request to amend the master sign plan for DP 2119, an approved project for the construction of 3 commercial industrial buildings on Lot 4 of the Robert subdivision at 4840 Williston Road in the Industrial Zoning District West. The amendment includes changing the location of one freestanding sign. Staff is recommending the DRB take testimony and approve this application. This is the first time that DRB is reviewing this application. Prior approvals include the master sign plan, the approval for the discretionary permit, and the original subdivision of this parcel. HDAC, previously known as HAC, this says in the staff report, was not consulted for this. It's a typo. No public comment letters were received for this application. The applicant is proposing to change the location of the site directory sign, which is referred to as freestanding sign A, on the master sign plan. The sign will be relocated adjacent to Route 2 outside the public right-of-way and beyond the 5-foot minimum setback for freestanding signs. Bylaw states that changing the location of signs approved in a master sign plan require or basically may not be approved by the administrator. That's why we're here tonight. No other changes to the master sign plan are proposed. And in the staff report, I've just provided a side-by-side showing the location of the previous sign highlighted in pink and the new sign highlighted in green. What follows are a list of findings, conclusions, and conditions of approval. Thank you.
Great. Appreciate it, Andrew. Nick, do you have any comments, including a comment on the proposed conditions of approval?
We find that the proposed conditions are acceptable. No comments on my end. Again, I appreciate the staff's time on it, and I think that the location will better serve the public and safety as well. Because if you do see the photos, it's hard to see the building at all times of the year. We try to maintain some vegetation up there, so having the freestanding sign a little closer to the road just gives a little bit better view as far as that goes.
Great.
Thank you.
DRB members, questions?
I have a question. Did we actually approve those window signs?
We did. The
'Cause I
only,
was curious about the.
let me finish. The only change proposed is that one sign, so that implies that we previously approved the other signs.
I'm trying to remember, maybe I wasn't at the meeting, because I'm thinking, I remember, refresh my memory, didn't we go through the big hoopla about the grocery store having too much of its glass covered by sign?
So Healthy Living, going by memory, Healthy Living had exceeded their sign square footage limitation with a graphic in the window, and that
Yeah.
graphic was deemed to be a sign.
Okay, well, that was my question is, how much of a window are people allowed to cover with a sign? What percentage? I just was curious.
I'm not
There's a
following your
formula, there's a
question.
formula in the ordinance.
25%.
25% is what they're allowed to cover of the glass?
That's the,
That's the standard?
it is.
Well, that sure, I don't know, the picture sure, with the yellow sure makes it look like there's more than 25% of that glass covered. That's all I'm just saying, just curious.
So which graphic are you looking at? Oh,
Page C14. Suite X, it's the,
yep. So on those windows, Nick, what percentage of the window?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at note D on that sign, on that profile view, you're gonna see that it calls out 20% or less right there. Perhaps the signs are pictorially a little bit bigger than maybe they should be.
Okay.
But we understand the maximum, and it's likely that we won't even have, I mean, a lot of the times we're talking to aren't looking at graphics on the windows or anything like that. But
I just was curious because boy, that yellow sure made it look like, that's a big,
we'll pick a duller color next time.
that's all I've got.
All right, so the yellow depicted on that, on C14 may not be to scale, and you will meet the requirement of not to exceed 25%.
Certainly, yes.
And I stand corrected tonight. Nick actually got it right. In industrial zoning district, it is 20, not 25.
Okay,
As opposed to many other parts of town.
okay.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, so I stand corrected then, so you won't exceed the 20,
Yeah,
correct? Okay,
he already knows, he
Okay.
already told us, so thank you.
okay, great, good question. DRB members, any other questions? Members of the audience, any questions? Comments? Any raised hands? No? Okay, I'm gonna close DP 21-19.2 at 7:15. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you all. Good evening.
Okay, next up is DP 24-02. Good evening, sir. Would you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Malcolm Willard, 699 Nob Hill, Williston Rd.
Welcome. Staff goes next.
It's me again. Thank you, Pete. This is a request for a discretionary permit review of a 3-lot subdivision at 699 Nob Hill Road in the in the Ag Rural zoning district. The request is to create 2 additional lots for 2 new single-family dwellings. The existing parcel is 10.49 acres and is occupied by 1 single-family dwelling. Staff is recommending that the DRB take testimony, deliberate tonight, and approve the application with conditions as drafted. Project history. This is the first time that the DRB is reviewing this application. Previous approvals include the 2022 review of a 2-lot subdivision, and this was withdrawn prior to DRB review. The 2023 boundary line adjustment, which was approved administratively, I believe, and then it was approved administratively. And then September of 23, the pre-application for this 3-lot subdivision. As part of the review of this application, the Williston Conservation Commission reviewed this application on August 7th, and their recommendations are included. Both Public Works and Fire comments are included in your staff reports. Please note that the Fire Department review standards are a select board policy and not ordinance, and therefore have no adopted basis for enforcement. I'll bring this up later on one of our chapters. For public comment, no comment letters were received at the time of mail out on August 8th. So moving into the pre-application recommendations, there are two main conditions that we'll add tonight. The first one is related to recommendation A, which refers to the building envelopes. At pre-application, they were larger than a ½ acre and needed to be relocated. Compliance is anticipated for this. The building envelopes are currently set back about 15 feet from the edge of the right-of-way. They need to be located 25 feet outside the right-of-way. For growth management, this complies as of, I believe it was October. This project is exempt per Chapter 11 as a small project. For utilities, not all proposed utilities are shown on this plan, so compliance is anticipated. You'll see a condition for final plans for this. For the habitat disturbance assessment, the applicant submitted one following the new regulations that require contracting through the town. There's a comment about forest clearing at pre-application. Forest clearing is proposed within the building envelopes. It is also allowed outside those envelopes for a few different reasons, including on-site wastewater systems. Pre-application recommendation F was sort of redundant, and so I've referenced the above sections. There was a comment about trails. This complies. No new trail or trail easement is required nor proposed. And lastly, the applicant needs to meet the bylaws, regulations for runoff and erosion control, and they have submitted a plan that was professionally prepared. Moving into the zoning district, as stated, compliance is anticipated for this. The applicant must relocate the building envelopes for the proposed Lot 2 and Lot 3 outside the 25-foot setback from the edge of the private right-of-way. This can be shown on final plans. Given the dimensions of the lot, staff isn't concerned about relocating these. Setbacks from both the side and rear are 15 feet, and this should be easily met by the applicant. This parcel is not an open space development. It complies as proposed because it is less than 10.5 acres. Therefore, it is not required to protect 75% of the parcel on an open space lot. And then lastly, for this chapter, lots and home sites, this proposed project is adequately screened from the nearest public right-of-way, which is Old Creamery Road. The pre-application discussed some possible visibility from Sunset Hill Road. Conservation Commission did not raise concern with the visual impacts of this application, and I'll also mention this later in the conservation chapter. Moving into affordable homes and growth management. As stated, this complies as of October 17th. Projects less than 4 units are exempt from growth management and the requirements of inclusionary zoning. For access, connectivity, and traffic studies, the project complies as proposed. This is where I'll note the fire department comments. The application does not meet all the preferences of the fire department's plan standard, including the requirement for a turnaround on Nob Hill Road, the 30-foot inside curve radii width and clear zone. Those standards are not contained within the development bylaw and therefore cannot be enforced by the DRB. For on-site infrastructure, compliance is anticipated. WDB 15.4 requires that all utilities, both existing and proposed, are shown at discretionary permit phase. Staff is recommending that the application show the locations of the proposed utilities for Lot 2 and 3 on final plans. For density, the application complies. In the density calculation, both watershed protection buffers and slopes are counted differently towards the maximum density of a parcel. The applicant is proposing 2 additional dwellings. You can see the table below at the bottom of that section summarizes the density calculation for this parcel with slope and watershed buffers taken into account. There are no watershed buffers. The calculation equals out to about 3.5, and we round down to the nearest number, which is 3. For landscaping, the application complies. Street trees, it also complies. The parcel is in a forested area. Plantings would be inappropriate, and staff recommends that the requirement for street trees is waived. Moving into conservation areas. The subject parcel is within a significant wildlife habitat area due to its designation as both core habitat and wildlife travel corridor. This requires that a habitat disturbance assessment be prepared. There was one completed by Elemental Wetland and Ecological Consulting. The HDA concluded that the project will not have an adverse impact on the surrounding wildlife habitat. It did identify 2 vernal pools on the neighboring property and an associated intermittent stream that crosses the southwest corner of the parcel. The biologist recommended that the applicant relocate proposed access and building envelope for Lot 3 to reduce the impact on possible salamander and frog migration. The applicant has relocated the Lot 3 building envelope and access in accordance with this recommendation. You will see it included in the comments for the record. However, it's already been completed. Additionally, the subject parcel is within both a primary background viewshed area and secondary middle ground viewshed area. The bylaw states that the landowners will work with the Conservation Commission and DRB to protect those views. The Conservation Commission did not comment on the impacts of the viewshed. Therefore, I'll leave it there. For watershed health, the project complies as proposed. The proposal disturbs land of a slope greater than 8% and is therefore high risk. As previously stated, the applicant has proposed a plan that was professionally prepared. For wetlands protection, The habitat disturbance assessment did identify a suspected Class 3 wetland on the northeast corner of the proposed Lot 2. No development is proposed within or immediately adjacent to the Class 3 wetland, and the WCC did not request additional information about the suspected Class 3 wetland as the bylaw allows. For watershed protection buffers, no watershed protection buffers are mapped, but as stated, the applicant has followed the recommendation of the biologist on avoiding that intermittent stream. And lastly, just a note of impact fees, excuse me, and that they will be assessed at the time of administrative permit. What follows are a list of findings, conclusions, and conditions of approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Malcolm, do you have any comments on the proposed conditions of approval?
No, I've gone over it with staff and with the Conservation Commission, and have already complied with their request to relocate the building envelope on one lot, and we can certainly arrange the front yard setback that I think is shown as 15 feet to 25 feet. That's not going to impact anything.
Okay, great. DRB members, any questions?
Out of curiosity, have you perked the land to see if those, septic fields are gonna drain?
I'm sorry,
The septic fields?
Yes.
You perked the land to make sure that they're gonna drain?
Oh, yes, there's an engineering report that was done on both lots.
Okay, just,
Yep.
because I mean, I've seen those fields suddenly have to move.
Yeah, I'm not proposing to build anything at this time. All I'm trying to do is some estate planning and split off a couple of lots for future development by whoever wants to develop them. I'm not planning on building the houses, putting in roads, putting in septic things. The septic was part of the requirements of the town for this phase, but to me, in 5 years or 10 years or whenever somebody wants to build, they may have different septic treatment regulations, and I would assume at that point the owner of the lot would have to get a permit and follow the current, or the current regulations at that time.
That was just for curiosity's sake.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions by the DRB members? Any questions, comments from the audience? Okay, Malcolm, any final thoughts?
I appreciate your time.
Thank-
Hopefully you'll approve my request.
Thank you, sir. It's 7:28. I'm going to close DP 24-02. The DRB is now going to go into deliberative session.
he has to do is all he have to do, make a 50-footer up to his place where he's going.
Paul, start the recording again.
Recording in progress.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back to the Development Review Board for, what is tonight? Today is August 13th, 2024. Just couldn't find that. It is 7:32. DRB is back from deliberative session. First up is HP 24-05. This is a certificate of appropriateness to install an ADA ramp. I would like to do a vote of the DRB members, and I'll go individually, indicate yay or nay for your approval of this. Paul Christensen?
Yay.
Lisa?
Yay.
Scott?
Yay.
Dave?
Yay.
Chair's a yay. 5 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. I will be signing that certificate of appropriateness and providing to staff. Next up is DP 21-19.2 for an amendment to the master sign plan. Is there a motion?
Yes, it's authorized by WDB 6.6.3. I, Lisa Bradenharder, move that the Williston Development Review Board, having reviewed the application submitted and all the accompanying materials, including the recommendations of the town staff and the advisory boards required to comment on this application by the Williston Development Bylaw, and having heard and duly considered the testimony presented at the public hearing of August 13th, 2024, accept the findings in fact and conclusions of law for DP 21.19.2 and approve this discretionary permit for a master sign plan subject to the conditions of approval above.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Dave Turner seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. Yay or nay? Paul?
Yay.
Lisa?
Yay.
Scott?
Yay.
Dave?
Yay.
Chair's a yay. 5 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Is there a motion for DP 24-02?
Yes, as authorized by WDB 6.6.3, I, Scott Riley, move that the Williston Development Review Board, having reviewed the application submitted and all accompanying materials, including the recommendations of the town staff and the advisory boards required to comment on this application by the Williston Development Bylaw, and having heard and duly considered the testimony presented at the public hearing of August 13th, 2024, accept the findings of fact and conclusions of law for DP 24-02, and approve this discretionary permit subject to the conditions of approval above. This approval authorizes the applicant to file final plans, obtain approval of these plans from staff, and then seek an administrative permit for the proposed development, which must proceed in strict conformance with the plans on which this approval is based.
Thank you, Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Lisa seconds. Any discussion? Yay or nay? Paul?
Yay.
Lisa?
Yay.
Scott?
Yay.
Dave?
Yay.
Chair's a yay. 5 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes of July 9th, 2024?
So moved.
Paul makes a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Lisa seconds. Any further discussion? Yay or nay to approve the meeting minutes? Paul?
Yay.
Lisa?
Yay.
Scott?
Yay.
Dave?
Yay.
Chair's a yay. 5 in favor, none opposed. Meeting minutes are approved. Is there any other business to bring forth tonight? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dave seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all.